Do we have the delegate count? Do we want to take a look at those numbers? I actually don't have them in front of me, so I need to see them on the screen.
Well, the move from the Clinton campaign, of course, came on the heels of this big weekend from Barack Obama sweeping up 4 states. Depending on who you ask, they're neck and neck. You factor in the super delegates, Chris, and it's even at least. Maybe he's up a couple votes, or maybe
their problem here, and it's up in the air because everybody seems to be picking the rule they like to follow, but the old political system where I grew up in Philadelphia is the Democratic City Committee would decide who the nominee should be for each race. Right. And you'd get on their palm card, and there'd be a number. In fact, you turn over the palm card, all it was numbers. Yeah. And people would just go in the machine like this and numbers. And then they had old tricks like they would put coal dust on the levers. If you put the wrong one, they could see your dirty fingers coming out of it. Wow. Some of these old tricks. They don't do this anymore, of course.
No, they don't.
They don't do that. $2 a vote, that was my grandfather's era when he was a committeeman. No, but I think that's the interesting race here in this country.
It is. And Pat Buchanan, I mean, when you look at how this could go on the Democratic side, the superdelegates have a lot of power. I'm reading some op-eds here saying that they really ought to sort of keep their mouths shut until the voters have spoken, because they could make or break this for one of these candidates.
Well, that's exactly right. That's where I think the Democratic Party is headed for a real crunch. Obama is continuing to really increase a modest lead among the pledged delegates. He's winning in votes. He's winning in numbers of battles, although he's losing the big states. And if you come down toward the end, and Obama's led in the total number of votes, and he's led in the pledged delegates, how do these super delegates, these party officials and these elected officials, how do they then take the nomination away from the winner, if you will, and confer it on the loser? I think that's a formula for a real walkout of the real, I mean, basically the emotional element, the fiery element in this party.
Can you hear this thrill? The thrill of victory, Pat. I hear it in your voice. The thrill of victory. Because all the Republican candidate has to do, no matter how hampered he is and weak he is in terms of his own party base, goes before the convention in St. Paul in September and says, a person rejected by her own party. Oh, I mean, I can hear the PR right now.
Now, Saturday night,
they will try that number.
The same thing, if Hillary wins it again, they're antagonized. But if Obama wins it, frankly, what Joe Klein said is true. This guy is utterly undefined. It's all this emotional movement. Right. It's changed. You wait till you get the 527s defining him. If he breaks out in May, he'll
Patrick,
be a different candidate.
You are so full of it, though. You know what Pat does here? Ronald Reagan ran in 1980 against my old boss, Jimmy Carter. You know what he promised? I'm going to cut government spending. And the way I'm going to do is I'm not cutting a single program. I'm going to get rid of government waste and abuse. And where's that? Because Joe Califano once said that 10% of the government was waste and abuse. He said, I'll get rid of that 10%. He never identified a single program he was going to cut. And he got in other words, lack of definition is a definition of success in politics.
You were sitting there in the Carter White House. What you didn't realize, the country didn't want Carter at all.
We're talking about the zeitgeist.
Was a guy that looked like he could be president, and as soon as Reagan cleaned his clock in the debate, the whole country moved right to him. It was foreign policy, defense policy, national security, a man as leader against this character. I mean, Reagan's cuts in budget, that didn't win it for him.
Okay, Pat, you are such a what's the right word, convert. Who was the greatest president of our time that you ever served? Was it Richard Nixon or Ronald Reagan? I want an answer now. A greater president.
Ronald Reagan was a good man and a great president. Richard Nixon had a great first term, and the second was a failure.
Okay, there's his answer. Now,
there you go.
Now,
but the break-in and the cover-up were in the first term, Pat.
Oh, Lord,
they got caught in the second term.
Same as Harry Truman.
All right, let's bring it back to Barack Obama so I can see you two fight some more. It's always fun. But this is Barack Obama on his win on Saturday night. He's speaking in Virginia, getting ready, of course, for the Potomac primary. That's what it's called, right? Not the Chesapeake.
I like the Potomac primary. I'm trying to rename it. Chesapeake is so weak. Potomac is much more political.
Yeah, I agree. So the Potomac primary,
nobody ever
of course,
had Chesapeake
Virginia,
fever.
Maryland.
They have Potomac fever.
And D.C. on Tuesday. But here's Barack Obama in Virginia on Saturday night. This is kind of funny. Take a listen.
The name of my cousin, Dick Cheney, won't be on the ballot. That was embarrassing when that news came out. You know, when they do these genealogical surveys, you want to be related to somebody cool.
Look, the guy has the ability to connect. That was funny. Now, Chris, you're shaking your head.
Because I heard before, but I got to tell you something. Race, since the beginning of this country, so long before we were a country, we were just a bunch of colonies, race has always sat there because of slavery as a problem for us. The San Andreas fault of American life. It sits there. It was sat through the Constitution, all the way through the cause of the Civil War. 600,000 white guys are dead because of that. It was a horrendous experience in our country. We haven't been able to deal with it. And here's a guy who comes from both backgrounds and dances across it back and forth. He said in that speech, I heard the longer version up in New Hampshire, he said, you know, you're hoping when you do one of these geological tracks, you're going to be related to somebody cool, like, you know, Abraham Lincoln or who was it, Louis Armstrong or something like that. He just mentioned a black guy and a white guy. And he thought, this guy has the liberty to say a black or a white person, and to be able to have that freedom of levity about race, which is that's what is so liberating about that.
Not only liberating, but Pat, don't you agree that not only is he liberated to talk about race above it all, as opposed to others who look like they're in it and perhaps even race baiting, but he really has an ability to sort of transcend race and take a message that would be difficult. Maybe it's an ethereal message, maybe it's amorphous, but difficult for the Republicans to attack.
Look, let me tell you something. Chris,
you got the sledgehammer coming out here.
You got all this. Here comes. I mean, I've been just, excuse me, listening to liberal nonsense I've heard all my life. Let me tell you something. All politics is not local. All politics is tribal. Why do you think Obama is getting 86% of the black vote and Hillary's getting less than George Wallace used to get? It's because he's an African American. Why is he losing the Hispanic vote? We know the situation in California. Look at Louisiana. 2/3 of Hillary's voters down there said they would be uncomfortable with Barack Obama. Anybody that doesn't understand that race is going to be a heavy issue and a hidden issue in this fall campaign, and that Barack Obama's going to cross over.
As goes South Carolina. Pat has just explained it for us. As goes South Carolina, so goes Maine. So goes Nebraska. The whitest states in the union. I mean, Pat, your whole theory doesn't hold up here.
Take a look at California. When you get the more voters that come out, the less well Obama does. Why, Chris?
Well, I think it's because of a lot of reasons. Obviously, the Hispanic vote, the Latino vote, is very loyal to the Clintons. It clearly is. California has always been, isn't tribal, isn't California because of its atmospherics or whatever, its culture. It loves the Clintons. It just loves them.
New Jersey, New York, let me tell you, the votes that McCain and Republicans can win are the votes Hillary is getting. Conservatives can never get Obama's votes. They're gone. I mean, the professoriate, the kids,
Pat,
the African Americans, they're gone.
You're raising a very interesting issue. Who is the strongest Democratic candidate? Because that might be in the thinking. And I'm not sure there is an easy answer to this. I'm not sure it's an easy answer. You think there's an easy answer, Hillary or Obama, who's the strongest candidate?
I think Hillary. Look, Obama right now is running stronger. I believe when you get down to a general election, Hillary can win. It would be very narrow. I think they're going to peel Obama like you've never seen once we get past this, this fluff.
I think it's the opposite.
I think Hillary is a close win. Over McCain, right now.
I think Obama could be a big loss.
The other one I think is volatile. It could be a big win, 53%, or it could be a loss.
I agree.
I think it's much more volatile. I think you agree. It's very hard. But Hillary's much more predictable in general election. She is probably a good bet for a narrow win. Unfortunately, with the narrow win comes the problem of governance and the problems of polarization when she's in. You have to deal with that. But I think if you're sitting down there as a card player or a baseball manager, you'd say Hillary.
All three branches of government, you'd have no problem because you're going to win more in the House and the Senate. If Hillary wins, you're going to have a good run for 2 years. I think Obama could get beat and badly.
Yeah, I only demur on the unpredictability of Barack Obama as a presidential candidate. I think Hillary's a fairly predictable candidate. She should edge him out.
Look,
in Pennsylvania, look at those states like Ohio, Pennsylvania, where there's working regular people where she's strong, people with needs. I think she could beat McCain in those, especially if he was a right winger on the campaign with him.
Your problem will be if she demoralizes the liberal wing of the party and the African Americans by having perceived to have stolen or grabbed this thing, even though she didn't get a majority of the votes. If that happens, that will demoralize the left the way the right and the Republican Party is temporarily demoralized right now.
Okay, well, I mean, look.
Look at that smile. Look at that smile. Did you see? That was the best part of his statement right there.
Naughty Republican.
Pat's in heaven. He lost his horse, but he's still in the race. I'll tell you.
Man.
He and Bay lost on that other horse, but he is so in heaven with the idea Hillary's the nominee.
Ron Paul's still in there.
This is pin the tail on the donkey coming up now for Pat.
As Barack Obama said on 60 Minutes last night, he said going against the Clinton machine is no cakewalk. So they still have a long road ahead. I think it's fair to say.
I think it's going to be. I still give Hillary a little edge here, because of those inside deals. She's very good at them.